Hi, so I'm Dr. Shreya Shreera. So I am the president of Mission Brain India chapter, which is a small part of a bigger organization called Mission Brain. Now, Mission Brain is a non-profit organization which was founded by two great neurosurgeons called Dr. Alfredo Quinones and Dr. Michael Lawton. It was their vision to kind of serve the underserved population and make sure that neurosurgical care and medical services reach the most underserved parts of most developing countries. So we proudly present to you Mission Brain India chapter, which started off as a pioneering effort to be a branch of this amazing organization. Now, I also want to talk to you about Aveksha for Seva. It's an NGO we founded in India so that we could open up a smart clinic and we can serve Mission Brain's vision and mission statement by providing free OPD services and conducting medical camps to the most underserved parts of India, like rural Karnataka. So we started off as a pilot project there. Now we have so many activities going on in Aveksha for Seva and Mission Brain India chapter. To enlist a few, it's just educational activities like observership opportunities on a digital platform, and people can even come and volunteer here and take part. And also we provide free care and free medicines and free OPD services and free ECG and free EEG. So yeah, we started off in a small way. We want to create a difference. I really believe that success is measured by how many smiles we create. So through Aveksha and Mission Brain, we really want to serve this purpose. Thank you so much.
Hey there, welcome to Talento Doc USMLE series, A Dimension Beyond Perfection. I am Neha Rao, a final year medical student at KIMS Bangalore. Talento Doc is a digital magazine revolving around the infinite world of medicine. From making concepts clear to helping somebody choose their dream career, it has anything and everything a medical student would need. Formed by a group of passionate young individuals, we aim to make this vast ocean of medical information more accessible and easy to comprehend. We hope to provide a medium through which you can unlock your entire potential both academically and non-academically. Welcome to USMLE series. Any USMLE aspirant would benefit leaps and bounds by the advice given to them from someone who's trailed in triumph in this path. For today's interview, it is my honor and delight to introduce the guest speaker, Dr. Ganesh Prasanna. He is currently a USMLE aspirant who secured a whopping 264 on his Step 1 and Step 2 CK exams, which he wrote in October 2018 and June 2021, respectively. He was born and brought up in Bangalore and did his schooling from Sri Kumaran's Children's Home, CBSE. He's an NTSC scholar and secured the 4th rank in the Common Entrance Test, Karnataka, through which he entered the gates of Bangalore Medical College, Karnataka, which is a prestigious institute to do your medicine in India. Apart from proving his mettle in academics, he's also a violinist, plays the keyboard, and loves to play a bit of football. Internal medicine is something that he's passionate about pursuing in the United States. He's currently going to the University of Alabama, Birmingham, to pursue his clerkship. On behalf of Talento Doc, I would like to welcome you, Dr. Ganesh, to today's interview.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So let's get started with the interview. Starting with the first question, could you please break down the steps of USMLE for someone who doesn't know much about it?
Okay, sure. Yeah. So the USMLE application process requires 1 exams, 2 letters of recommendation, and 3 other components which make up your CV. Okay. So I'll speak about the exams. There is a Step 1, USMLE Step 1, which is based on the syllabus of 1st and 2nd year of MBBS. Okay. Then Step 2 CK, or clinical knowledge, which is based on final year MBBS subjects. Right. And finally, there is an OET, or an occupational English test, which is actually a test of English, but set in a medical context. Okay. So these are the 3 exams which are needed to be taken in order to get an ECFMG certification.
Okay.
That is a certificate which says that you are equivalent to an American medical student who has completed their degree there.
Okay.
So along with the exams and the ECFMG certification, the program directors, when you apply for residency, they also want to know that you have taken, you have completed clinical experience in an American setting.
Okay.
So this is popularly referred to as USCE, or United States Clinical Experience. So, or they're also called clerkships.
Okay.
So the point of doing these clerkships is to get letters of recommendation from American clinicians. So
Okay.
you can work in a hospital or a clinic along with a doctor there in the USA, and you get LORs from them.
Okay.
So about 3 LORs is the recommended number of letters you need.
Okay.
The next component, which is a part of your CV, consists of things like research experience, leadership opportunities,
Right.
or volunteering experiences, which speak about you as a person apart from what you have done in academics.
Okay.
So these 3 things together, you have to have completed in order to apply for the residency. So
Right.
the application for residency, it opens only in September and October every year. So
Okay.
by that time, you must have completed all these things. And you apply for a multitude of programs in the subject that you're interested in.
Okay.
Another thing that you need to keep in mind is your application must be directed towards the subject. So if you are interested in internal medicine, then your clerkships should be in that subject. Your
Yes.
research experience is preferable to have in that field itself.
Okay.
So you apply to these programs, and you will receive interviews from some of those programs, not all of them, those who like your application and want you as a candidate. So these interviews occur during the months of November, December, going up to January.
Okay.
So last two, these interviews used to be in person. So you had to fly to US and then hop
Okay.
from city to city to take these interviews. However, in the last 2 years, the interviews have been happening online itself, virtually.
Yes.
So we will have to see how that trend, whether it changes or it stays the same the next year.
Okay.
So the interviews end in about January every year, after which you as a candidate have to supply a list of the programs where you applied, where you attended the interviews in order of your preference.
Okay.
Similarly, each program, if they interview a number of candidates, they will also give their order of preference.
Okay.
Then a matching process occurs, which is automated and done. And it happens after the interviews and after the preferences are given.
Right.
And each candidate is matched to one program, such that how much they have liked you as a candidate should be equal to how much you have rated them as your program of interest.
Okay.
Finally, in March, the match results are revealed, and one program is allotted to one candidate.
Okay.
And after March, you are actually have free time where you can use to prepare for the residency and make travel arrangements, etc.
Yes.
And you have to be ready to fly in June or July of that year.
Right.
So the application process, which starts in September or October every year, finally goes on till June or July, when the program actually starts. So this
Okay.
is the application program.
Right. So in a nutshell, this is a summary of the whole process and the timeline you need to know about before you start preparing for USMLE.
Yes.
Coming to the main agenda for today's interview, which is step 2 CK. CK stands for clinical knowledge. So Ganesh recently wrote his step 2 CK a month ago in June 2021. So he's the best person to ask for about the latest information about this exam. Diving into the questions, what is step 2 CK? What are the subjects covered in it? Like you mentioned, the final year subjects are covered in it. Could you elucidate on that further?
Yes, sure. So step 2 CK consists of subjects including internal medicine, surgery, obstetrics gynecology,
Yes.
pediatrics, and neurology, which is considered slightly separate from just internal medicine, as
Okay.
opposed to what we are used to in India. Also, psychiatry forms an important component of the exam.
Mm-hmm.
So, six subjects are the main areas of focus.
Okay.
Along with this, something that we must be aware of as Indian medical students is that they also place importance on some topics such as quality and safety, uh, physician ethics, and patient communication. So these are
Okay.
also some areas which are relatively new for us, but are considered essential from the point of view of the exam makers.
Okay. It gives a holistic approach to the subjects, I think. Coming to the next question, what is the duration of this exam, Step 2 CK?
The exam consists of 320 questions
Okay.
across 8 hours.
Okay.
So each hour is called a block
Yes.
and is composed of 40 questions, consists of 40 questions. So
Okay.
once the block begins, once the hour starts, you cannot do you have to complete that block.
Okay.
But after every block, you can take a break, and cumulatively, that is overall across the whole day, you can take a total of 60 minutes of a break.
Right.
So you can split it as you want. You can do two blocks at a stretch, and after 2 hours, you can take a 10-minute break,
Okay.
or you can keep 20 minutes for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
So, in totally, you are allowed 60 minutes of break time.
Mm-hmm.
And this exam is conducted in test centers, in designated test centers, which are run by a company called Prometric.
Okay.
So it is an online exam, but you have to take it in the testing center, and testing centers are there in all major cities of our country.
Okay. Wonderful. What is the pattern of this exam? Is it it's an MCQ based exam, right? So a bit about that.
Sure, yes. It is an MCQ based exam. So each question consists of a patient presentation. It
Okay.
starts with, for example, a 45-year-old patient comes with this problem, and these tests were done. This was the physical examination finding.
Okay.
In step 2 CK, you need to remember that the focus is on diagnosis and management. So
Right.
the question can be directed towards diagnosis. So the final concluding statement can be, what is the next step in order to diagnose this? Or
Okay.
sometimes the diagnosis will be stated in the question itself, and they can ask what is the next step in management of this patient.
Right.
So, in contrast with step 1, where they were asking more about the pathophysiology or the reason for the patient presentation, here in step 2 CK, it is all about the diagnosis and management.
Okay.
And like you said, yes, it is an MCQ MCQ based exam with 5 or 6 options after the question.
Okay. Is there any negative marking for this exam?
No, there is no negative marking. So
Okay.
320 questions are there.
Mm-hmm.
The scoring goes as follows. You get a 3-digit score.
Yes.
Maximum score technically possible is a 300, but a
Okay.
pass mark is 209. And the mean score in the recent years has been 245.
How much time did you prepare for this exam?
I took about 14 months to prepare for this exam, but that was during my internship.
Yes.
So about 9 months or so of the internship was preparing with work and
Yes.
with everything going on along with COVID,
Okay.
and dedicated period, which is what the term they use for the time you spend
Okay.
completely studying. That is, from morning till evening, you're doing nothing but just preparing for this exam. I
Okay.
took 3 to 4 months of my preparation went in dedicated time. I would like to elaborate a little bit more on that. So usually they say that 4 months of dedicated time is sufficient,
Okay.
but in my case it took a little longer because of COVID. and because the testing center wasn't open when I was ready to take the exam.
Right. Okay. Sure. Could you please explain a day in the life of your studying for this exam?
Okay. So when I was studying with internship going on, I was able to put only about 2 or 3 hours at most in a day
Yes.
for studying during studying. But during the dedicated time when I was free to just study for this,
Yes.
my day usually looked like this. In the morning, 1 hour would go in taking a block, that is a U-word block, and about 3 or 4 hours to review that block, which I used to do in the afternoon.
Okay.
And in the evening, I would keep it just for some reading of notes or something.
Okay.
So this was my day.
Okay.
Taking a block of 1 hour in the morning, reviewing it in the afternoon, and reading something in the evening.
Sure. So you preferred to answer questions when you were fresh in the morning.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, great. Coming to the next question, what were the resources you used for this exam, and what are the resources available for anybody to start off for this exam?
All right, that's a pretty important question. So I would divide this into two types of resources. One is
Yes.
the reading material, that
Okay.
is material that you can use to learn the knowledge or master that knowledge,
Okay.
and the other aspect would be the testing material.
Right.
Now, it is important to realize that a lot of the resources are very common and used by everybody, but the
Okay.
difference in scores comes because of how you approach each question in the exam, which
Yes.
refers to your test taking skills. So it
Okay.
is important to practice the questions as well.
Okay.
So the resources available for reading include reading or learning, the online Meded or OME. It is a website with recorded videos by one Dr. Dustin.
Okay.
So it is a pretty comprehensive list of videos covering most of the topics that are important for the exam across all the subjects.
Okay.
Apart from that, Amboss is a company that was formed recently. They have a knowledge library
Okay.
as well as a question bank. So the knowledge library consists of articles, which is basically like summaries of different topics for the exam. It's nicely categorized into subjects and then subheadings and so on.
Okay.
Another resource that I know people have used for reading or learning is a PDF consisting of all the questions of UWorld.
Okay.
I mean, the explanations of questions of UWorld, not the questions.
Right.
So, so these are the resources that people use for reading. That is online made videos or the knowledge library of Amboss
Okay.
and PDF of the UWorld explanation of questions.
Right.
So the testing resources include UWorld, which is basically a USMLE world. It
Yeah.
is the number one resource which people use. It consists of a question bank.
Okay.
So there are about 3,600 questions in this,
Right.
and it is updated every day. The questions are
Wow.
updated very regularly,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives you a real feel of the exam.
Okay.
So there are about 95 blocks. The questions translate to 95 blocks, and this comprises the most important resource that people use for step 2 CK.
Okay.
So so this is what I used to do. I used to take a block of UWorld and then review it.
Okay.
So the explanations that used to be there after each question have been compiled to make a PDF, which is also what I mentioned in the reading resources.
Yes. Okay.
Apart from UWorld, which consists of blogs, there are also these resources that people use for assessing yourself
Okay.
at milestones. So these are like practice tests.
Mm-hmm.
There are two UWorld self assessments which are there, which consists of 160 questions each, which which is recommended to be taken at a stretch on a demarcated day,
Mm-hmm.
so that the point of this is to get a 3-digit score, which gives
Okay.
you an understanding of where you stand and how your preparation's going. It also tells you the strengths and weaknesses and how
Okay.
you can. So that is about the UWSA, or the UWorld self-assessment. This is included in the package when you buy the UWorld subscription online.
Okay.
Along with this, there is also the NBME, or it's called the National Board of Medical Examiners,
Yes.
which can be compared to the CBSE or ICSE, what we have
Okay.
here.
Mm-hmm.
So the NBME is the organization which conducts the exam. So
Okay.
they have self-assessments on their website, which is based on questions they have retired from the exam. So
Okay.
they give a good idea of what the questions on the real exam could look like, and moreover, they also give um, a 3-digit score again.
Right.
So during your preparation time, uh, wha- what I would suggest is to dedicate some time for reading and learning the resources, and then beginning testing, which is
Okay.
starting with UWorld. And during this whole process, you can intersperse it with the practice tests. So
Okay.
you will know how your preparation's going and where you can improve.
Okay. So this was your strategy for cracking this exam. You would start off with reading the resources, getting your knowledge straight, and then going
Yeah.
into these questions, solving blocks every day, followed by interspersed doing these big tests for
Yeah.
a
Right.
prolonged period of time. Okay, wonderful. How did you manage to revise the subjects in this exam?
My basic resource was actually the notes I'd made from online while watching the videos.
Okay.
And I also used to refer to the Amboss library, the knowledge library, and
Yes.
add points to whatever notes I've made. So I had prepared these set of notes for all the subjects together, and this is what became my source for revision.
Okay.
So once I was done reading this and writing this, next time I used to revise the same material. So I would pick some topic depending on where I'm weak. For example, it could be psychiatry. So I
Okay.
would start reading the psychiatry notes, and also have a look on those UWorld blocks and see if I'm improving in that one subject.
Okay.
So this way, I would tackle one subject at a time and try to do one rotation consisting of all the subjects.
Okay.
Once I was done with one round, I would start another round, and each time I was choosing the next topic to revise depending on what I was weak at. So
Okay.
that way, slowly all the subjects started coming to a decent level, and
Yes.
then I could improve further on from there.
Okay. Did you prioritize any subject during your preparation?
Yes, I did. So
Okay.
it turns out that internal medicine, which consists of cardiology, pulmonology, and every organ system wise, it's divided. So
Yes.
internal medicine consists of about 40% of the exam,
Okay.
and next comes general surgery, and then obstetrics and gynecology, and finally pediatrics, and last comes psychiatry
Okay.
in order of distribution of the questions.
Right.
So a useful thing to do can be to go through the guidelines that the exam makers have set, and then depending on that, you can allocate your time and prioritize between the subjects. But internal medicine takes the most amount of time to study, because within that subject are all the different organ systems which you have to learn separately.
Yes. Revising is such a key strategy in cracking these exams or any exam for that matter. And there's a joke which says that studying medicine is like a sodium potassium ATPase pump. I take three uh, sodiums in and put two out, put two potassium out. So definitely the more you revise, the more you strengthen your concepts, the easier it is to crack an exam. How would you suggest people? Most people give this exam during internship or post MBBS, step 2 CK in particular. How would you suggest they balance internship or working and studying for this exam? And how did you do the same?
Okay. To be honest, it was quite difficult for me to balance exam preparation along with internship.
Yes.
But ideally, what I would have liked to do is maybe set a target of a number of blocks every week so
Okay.
that I'm meeting that target. For example, if you said you want to do 3 or 4 blocks in during a week,
Mm-hmm.
then no matter what, if you're able to take those blocks and then review them, then in the big picture you should still be making progress.
Okay.
So this so it depends on what posting you have or how busy you are. Some days you might be free enough to review a lot of questions, some days you might not be.
Right.
In fact, one resource that can be very useful when you are busy is the flashcards. So
Mm-hmm.
Anki flashcards is a very popular resource. This takes into account active recall,
Yes.
which is you see the question and the answers covered. The question can be a simple line or a fill in the blanks or something that you have made for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
some a point that you want to remember.
Okay.
So these can take about 10 seconds to solve or 5 seconds to solve. So there are also ready-made decks available, and these decks can be categorized into different subjects or topics. So one way to balance out learning during posting time or when you're busy is to do these flashcards,
Okay.
because they take very less time to do,
Yeah.
and you can fill it up in small gaps that you find during your day.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So one,
Wonderful.
keeping a target of uh, X number of blocks in a week or in every 5 days, and also filling up the short intervals of time that you get with flashcards, doing flashcards.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How was the exam experience for you? Because this is a long exam. How did you feel during this exam?
It is a very daunting experience when you think about it, because you have to sit all by yourself for
Yes.
9 hours along with the break. So I would say you just have to take it one block at a time. The
Okay.
first 2 blocks can be quite scary, and I was quite nervous, to be honest.
Okay.
But after a block number 3 or 4, you kind of enter a zone where you're just focused on taking each question at a time, and before you know it, the blocks pass by,
Yeah.
actually. So it happens, it's just a process, and you just trust the process and you go through with it.
Okay.
And most people will have taken step 1 before step 2 CK, so they will be used to the process, and then they will know what it's like.
Right.
One thing to definitely do before the exam is, these practice tests are there, right? So
Yes.
those practice tests usually have 160 questions or 200 questions, so you can top them off with additional blocks.
Okay.
So totally it becomes 280 or 320 questions. So if you have practiced this at home before the final exam, that is 1 month before the exam, or 2 months before the exam, 15 days before the exam, if you practice this at home with a timer in front of you,
Okay.
then you're already used to this. So going
Yes.
into the exam, you know that you have been here and this is possible. So that makes things easier.
So, giving these exams just before, maybe a week before the exam, would really help during the exam to get
Yeah.
you used to the system. How did you feel on the results day when you got such a great score?
I was quite happy with the result.
Okay.
So it is important to get a step 2 CK score which is equal to or more than step 1 score.
Right.
So having a relatively high step 1 score meant that I had to work hard, and which meant my target was quite high.
Okay.
It was a good experience, and I'm glad with how I performed.
Okay. How did your parents react and your other family members?
They were really thrilled. They were
Okay.
all very happy for me, my
That's wonderful.
family. And it's also important because I've been studying for this for a really long time, so they
Yeah.
have been extremely supportive. My parents, being for example, helping me during those practice test days, keeping everything important. In
Okay.
fact, I had to fly to Ahmedabad to take my exam
Okay.
because during the time the Prometric Center, the testing center in Bangalore was locked, and
Okay.
there were three extensions on my date. So every
Mm-hmm.
time I would select a date and it would get postponed. So since Ahmedabad was open, I actually flew there and I took the exam.
Okay. So, regardless of all the hurdles, you've come out with flying colors, and hearty congratulations from our side. So, to
Thank
all of the viewers watching this out there who are frustrated or who are feeling this is a long haul, it's worth it, and the results do pay off, and in a very big way. There are many changes occurring in the USMLE pattern. What do you suggest or advise to any aspirant on this? There are many changes occurring in the USMLE exam pattern. What are your thoughts about this?
Yes, definitely. So one change that people are speaking about is the change of step one scoring system.
Yes,
Right now, there is a three-digit score, but it will change to a pass-fail. That is, you either pass or fail. That will be the result and no score
exactly.
starting next year.
Okay.
So and this is because the program want to select students who have a holistic um, CV, and they don't want to rely too much on the exam score. So this can make or break people's cases. If right now we are in that transitional phase where for the next year's match, that is the 2021 match,
Yes.
there will be some students with a pass fail score, there will be some students who have a three-digit score.
Yes.
So if there is a good score, then it can work in their favor.
Mm-hmm.
Or if preparations has not been that good and they're not so confident of getting a good score, then just having a pass on your result, just having that pass
Yes.
without a score, that can also be quite useful. But the bottom line is that they do not want to just see your exam score.
Okay.
They want to see that you're an overall candidate, you're a well-rounded candidate.
Yes.
And so it is important to focus on other aspects, namely, right now, step 2 CK
Okay.
and your application as a whole.
Yes.
Uh, Having good letters of recommendation, having publications and research, some volunteering experience. So those things also matter.
Okay.
Another
Wonderful.
change specifically that is happening in the exam is they are giving importance on these new topics.
Mm-hmm.
These topics are being questioned earlier as well, but right now the distribution has increased. That is ethics, quality and safety,
Okay.
uh, and and topics such as this patient communication. So I
Okay.
can give you some examples about this for listeners who are new to these topics. Um, the question can describe a problem that the patient has. It can be health related or it can be something else, and the final statement could ask you how you respond to this patient. So when you answer this or when you think about these questions, there are rules and ways to go about it. There are things that have to be said and things that you should avoid saying. And it is not something that you can answer because you feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one kind of question. Another type of question that they're asking is has to do with quality and safety.
Okay.
So in a hospital setting, they can say that this error was made or some error occurred on account of the physician,
Okay.
and they can say how to prevent this error or how could this error have been prevented.
Okay.
Again, these are relatively new topics, but not to worry because these things are covered in the question banks because they are updated regularly. And once you start practicing those questions during your preparation time, you will be comfortable when you see these questions on the exam. So along with practicing these questions as part of your question bank, there is one resource which is the Divine Intervention podcasts. So Divine, who is a mentor and tutor for the STEP exams, he has given importance for these topics, and he has made a couple of podcasts addressing exactly these issues. So
Okay.
listening to these podcasts maybe about 10 days before the exam definitely helps. And there are Mbbs articles which are dedicated to these topics, and even that will definitely be useful for these topics.
Dr. Ganesh, having given this exam just a month ago, knows the latest trends. It would help anybody to secure a great score on this exam. USMLE aspirants would like to know the cost in brief before taking up this exam so that they can prepare for it. So could you please give us a brief overview of the costs?
Right, sure. So the course starts with applying for the ECFMG certification. So I can tell you a little bit more about this.
Sure.
ECFMG stands for Educational Commission for Foreign Medical Graduates, ECFMG.
Okay.
So this certification basically means to say that me, an Indian student, is equivalent to an American student who's completed his MBBS in USA.
Okay.
So that when we apply for residencies, the program directors know that if you have an ECFMG certification, then they can weigh you on the same scale that they are looking at an American student.
Okay.
So the requirement for this ECFMG certificate are the three exams: the
Right.
step 1, step 2, and OET. So the first cost which you need to pay before even applying for the step 1 exam is for the ECFMG certification, which costs $150.
Okay.
And the application for step 1 costs $1,155, and step 2 is $1,175.
Okay.
This translates to 11,000 rupees for the application cost for ECFMG. Then
Right.
for step 1, 86,000 rupees, and step 2, 87,000 rupees.
Okay. Coming to the last and final question for today's interview, how did you maintain motivation and consistency throughout this exam? And what would your advice be for any medical student or a USMLE aspirant out there for preparing for this exam?
Uh, Particularly for the exams, I would say that it teaches you some new things. Preparing for these exams gives you a perspective into medicine that personally I had not had before starting on this journey.
Okay.
How to look at a patient, or how to think about solutions when we are presented with a clinical problem. These are some things that I learned only during my step 1 preparation, and that carried on into step 2 preparation as well. So right now I can say that my understanding of medicine has been uh, definitely enhanced because of uh, the preparation and the testing process for these exams.
Okay.
So that way, even though it is a long process of preparing for this and quite scary, the exam, it helps to know that the process can be quite enjoyable.
Okay.
So this also is something that kept me going.
That's great.
Another thing that can help is to have a study partner
Yes.
or friends or colleagues of yours who are in the same path. So that way you can share your experiences, or you have someone to help out when you're having a difficult time. So
Very true.
that definitely helps. Coming
Definitely.
to advice in general about the USMLE process, it's very important for us to understand and to know that this process is not straightforward. It
Yes.
is very convoluted, and there will be hurdles all along the way. If you expect that it will be easy, then that's what can lead to disappointment or frustration. But
Okay.
once you just accept that it's going to be long and difficult, and you remember that it will be rewarding in the end, it makes things much easier to deal
Right.
with.
Okay. Definitely in the era of COVID, where most of the medical education today, MBBS education, has been shifted online, gaining a better clinical exposure and understanding how to approach a patient is of the utmost importance. So, anybody out there, MBBS students who are feeling, hey, let me get my wheels running and pursue something which helps me grow as a doctor, they should give USMLE an attempt.
Definitely, I definitely agree.
On behalf of Talento Doc, I would like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for taking your time off your busy schedule and helping us gain a clear and comprehensive insight of USMLE and especially USMLE Step 2 CK. Your advice will definitely help thousands of medical students watching this video gain insight, get motivated, and follow your footsteps to reach great heights. I would like to thank you and wish you all the very best for your further endeavors.
Thank you so much. It's actually been a pleasure to be here and to answer these questions. I would actually say congratulations to you, Neha, and your team for taking up this initiative to make these videos and for working with a schedule with me. It's a really good job and much needed too. There's many people that I can think of who will be quite helped by this whole initiative.
Thank you once again. It was great having you here.
Thank you. Same here.